What is up, YouTube? We are here with day 22 of Advent of Code 2021. Is that right? Yes, of course, it was last December. So yeah, if this is your first one, what I'm going to do is go through sort of a tricky sort of algorithmic programming challenge you'd normally see in sort of a techie interview for a software developer job. We're using this website called Advent of Code that hosts every year 25 programming challenges with a theme. This year that theme seems to be sort of like submarine ocean trench exploring. So today's challenge is here. There's 21 or 20 other ones on this YouTube channel, and my code is also available here, sent in the chat now. We're using this site called REPL, which lets you sort of host files, write code, run code, all in the browser, so you don't need to install anything to get started. You could run my code right now if you wanted to. You could write your own. That's totally fine. I've done Advent of Code. We've got like 3 more of these, so there's only 25 days, and I'm moving house in like 3 weeks. So I might do sort of an ad hoc one, or maybe a 2-hour one where I try and do 2 challenges at once. But yeah, other than that, let's get started. We won't spend more than like an hour on this. So day 22. Day 22, reactor reboot. Operating at these extreme ocean depths has overloaded the submarine's reactor and needs to be rebooted. The reactor core is made up of a large 3-dimensional grid made up entirely of cubes, 1 cube per integer 3-dimensional coordinate x, y, z. Each cube can either be switched on or switched off. At the start of the reboot process, they are all off. Could it be an old model of a reactor you've seen before? So this is another from a completely different challenge years ago. To reboot the reactor, you need to set all of the cubes to either on or off by following a list of reboot steps, which is your puzzle input. So every one of these puzzles has an input, and that will change depending on who is looking at the question, basically. So my puzzle input will be different to yours if you sign up for this site, but hopefully my solution will also solve your puzzle input. Okay, doesn't look like this means anything. It's just sort of a set of like x, y, and z coordinates. So each step specifies a cuboid, the set of all cubes that have coordinates which fall within the range for x, y, and z, and whether to turn all of the cubes in that cuboid on or off. For example, given these reboot steps, on x 10 to 12, y 10 to 12, z 10 to 12. So let's just do that first step. Turns on a 3x3 cuboid consisting of 27 cubes. Second step turns on those cubes. Okay, this seems fine. Third step turns off. The initialization, right, so we have a count of how many cubes are on total. The initialization procedure only uses cubes that have x, y, and z positions of at least -50 and at most 50. For now, ignore cubes outside of -50 to 50. But we have way bigger ones there. I guess just for this example. Here's a bigger example. The last 2 steps are fully outside the initialization procedure area. All other steps are fully within it. After executing these steps in the initialization procedure, loads of cubes are on. What does that mean? Do I just ignore them if they're outside that -50 to 50? I guess that's what it means. They're giving us these big examples. So I guess really I only need to deal with these early ones then. So it's basically giving me an easier input just for the start. Though there might be other small ones in here that we need to deal with, but we'll look at that later. Okay, execute the reboot steps afterwards, considering only cubes in the region, yeah, -50 to 50. How many cubes are on? So this, what happens in these challenges is normally you do the first bit and then it reveals a second thing that will kind of be your gotcha moment if you cut any corners or didn't do something clever enough. So I imagine this will be quite a trivial thing to solve in the range of -50 to +50, but in the range of +10,000, 100,000 to -100,000. Our solution might not be good enough to do this quickly, basically. So let's give it a go. It doesn't look too bad, does it? So let's start with just this puzzle input because we can trace that through. So in this REPL I've shared, there should be 2 two files. So there should be an index.js, so this is where we can write JavaScript code, something like console.log 2+2. We can press run at the top, and we get that 4 out. And then there's an input.txt file, which is just where I've made this little snippet at the top that's commented out, and you can uncomment it to get the ability to just read those files in. So if I do run now, and I ask it to print out the input variable, I've got those lines in JavaScript somewhere we can actually see them. To the people watching, if you let me know like what level your JavaScript is, I can sort of go faster or slower depending on who's watching. Okay, so first thing we need to do is actually map these to, I don't know, some sort of object we can iterate over perhaps, or just a list. So we could store these ranges as something like this. We could say x, let's do x. And then again, we could store that as an object. So we could say min, and in this case, it would be 10, max, 12, something like that. Or we could just be a bit lazier and we could just assume that we have a list where the first list within it represents our x's, the second one represents our y's, the third one represents our z's. So I'll probably go with that, even though it's less sort of verbose, but it'll just be way easier to implement and iterate over and stuff like that. So let's write a function real quick. What do we want to do? Map to list, I don't know. That's going to take inputs. Oops, that's going to take inputs. We're going to return a whole function. So let's just do inputs.forEach input. And in here, I'm just going to console.log each input. Like that, so we should just see 4 lines print out now. Oh, only if I call the function, sorry. Map to list input. There we go. So that's pretty useless. We need to break it up into sort of an instruction. And I completely forgot about the on. So let's add in something like this. On. And then in there, we want to return, let's call it output. So I'm going to use the let keyword to define a variable, make it an empty list. And I'm going to say output 0 equal, actually I can do output.push. And then in there, I'm just going to push whether it's on or off. So I'm going to do input.split. I'm going to split on the white space character, just because that's our first split there, and get the first item in that list, which should be the word on or off. Then I can print out, let's call it instructions equals that. Then I should be able to print out instructions here. It's undefined because I haven't returned anything. I guess I can do return output. Maybe instead of iterating in here, I should just do one input at a time. So then I can just do like this. Like this, it takes one input, and then I can do map to list. I can do input.map, map to list, input. Oh, using input is going to hurt me now. Let's call it inputs up here just to make it clear. Now, do my instructions have anything in them? There we go. So we've got on, off, well, on, off, on. Oops. Put my headset on backwards. That's not good. Well, I hope you could all hear me. I don't know if my mic was facing backwards the whole time. Okay, so now we've got on, off, on, which is our input here. On, off, on, which isn't too surprising. Next, we need to get these bits. So I probably need to figure out a way to split this. So let's have a little play with it over here. So I've got x. If I do x.split on the white space like we did before, that gets rid of my on, which looks pretty useful. If I chain that, if I use that second part, and then I split that on, I could split it on the commas perhaps. That gives me those, which is looking pretty good. Then I need to get rid of the first two characters of each one. So I can do map, I don't know what to call it, to x. I can trim off the first, what's the word for it? I feel like there's a get, I don't know, substring of string JavaScript. Oh. Oh. Okay, that works. So x.substring to, there we go, and then I can just do one more split on the two dots, like that. Oh, split is not a function. Have I not closed something? Oh, I can't split them because they've been mapped. I have to do the map again. I could do it inside there, like this. Dot split, dot dot. Oops. There we go, perfect. So that's what I need. I'll probably break that out into a function of its own, right? Because that's a bit weird. Const get ranges equals, I don't know, instruction, arrow, return, all that. Extra one of them. That's a real line of JavaScript right there. Then I can do output.push, get ranges, input, and I should have what I want. No. X is not defined because I just whacked an X there. It needs to be the instruction, but it can still be called X inside the function, though that's not very good. Okay, I've got some arrays. That doesn't look right. Why has that happened? Well, I didn't think they're empty. So I think something isn't quite doing what I think it's doing. Maybe I'll just try accessing them and see if there actually is something in there and I'm just not seeing it. Oh, I've pushed the array in there 3 times, have I? It shouldn't be pushing a whole array. What did I want it to look like? This. So it should just be turn output. Well, at least the numbers look right. It's not the end of the world. I guess I can work within that, but I've got no idea where it's pushed an extra. I guess this must be returning, get ranges must be returning a whole list, which makes sense there. So if I return 0 there, will it get the first item? So I don't want that. I want all of them. I could try the spread operator, and that should like unpack the list for me. There we go. That's called the spread operator. JS sort of unpacks an array for you. It's quite a niche one. Okay, so that looks good. 10, 12, 10, 12. I think we've got everything we need there. Now we need some sense of cube. So we need to build a cube. How am I going to do that? Build a cube. So to represent like a 3D object, we could represent like a 1D one with a one-dimensional list. We could represent a 2D one with a two-dimensional list. So we have to have those same rows like this. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. So then to go even further, you have to put all of that in each of these places for a 3D one. So each row contains 3 columns containing 3, I don't know the word for the other one, columns going the other way. So we've got that, 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 that. Oops. Just trying to make it very clear what's going on here. So this is the shape of the object we need to build, but it needs to have 100 in each of these, or maybe more. Minus 50 to plus 50. So how am I going to build that? Build a JavaScript. And then the other issue is that we need to traverse over that 3D list somehow. I'm looking for like a shortcut where I can just I don't need to put all the numbers in, I just need to make an array of size 10. Oops. JavaScript. Here we go. So to do this 1D array, I should be able to do 1D equals that. So if I run it, or 1D looks good. Now, can I fill them? Can I just nest it? Can I just do like this in here? Oops. Nice. So let's call that 2D. And then hopefully I can just do the same thing again. So that goes where the 0 is. And that should give me my 3D array of size 333. And I can take that out and just check if it's the same the exact same shape as what I've already got here, which it looks like it is. Looks about right. Why have we got an extra one there? Hopefully that's not my fault. Any commas. So that looks good. Now I've just got to hope that I make it bigger and it's fine. So I could do, to start with, it looks like all of these are sort of positive and they only go up to 20. I didn't think about the negative ones, but let's just do this up to 20. So sorry, that's 20 slots, including a 0 perhaps, which should cover us here. So let's do 21, just to keep it clear. Don't need these anymore. So we've got our cube. We can call it reactor. Let reactor equal this. So now we've got our reactor. Is not defined. Reactor. There we go. And I should be able to access like an item in that by just asking for the 0th x, 0th y, 0th z. That should give me something. If I do 0, that should give me everything in the x dimension. That should give me one slice of the z dimension, and then all of them should give me the first item in the z dimension, in the first item in the y dimension, in the first item in the x dimension. Then I need to count all the ones that are on or off, which isn't very helpful. I guess I could just write a big 3-dimensional for loop to iterate over all of them to do that lazily. But let's start trying to apply some of our instructions. So go through each instruction. Let's clear the terminal. So instructions dot for each instruction console.log instruction. We'll just start with that. Let's give it a bit more space. More space. Okay, so first one, we need to say if instruction 0 equals on console.log turning on, else we are console.log turning off. So go on, off, on, looks good. We need to do our ranges from something to something. So for x, let x equal instruction 1, 0. So that will get us 10 hopefully. X plus x is less than or equal to instruction 1, 1 x plus plus. Console.log x, so that should just count 10, 11, 12 hopefully. 10, 11, 12, 11, 12, 13, so that's just doing x ranges. It's not doing anything for off, which is okay. And then it's just getting 10 for this last one, which looks good. This will only work if the left one is less than the right one, but I've not seen a case where that's not true yet. Oh, there's one right there. Oh no, there isn't, it's negative. I think we should be okay. No, wait. Yeah, okay. It looks consistent anyway. So that will do that. Then I need the exact same instructions, but for y. So I need to go one level deeper. do with a bit more space for let. So now we're talking in y's, so I need to replace these all with a y, and instead of ones, these need to be twos to get the y instructions. I could probably do with a bit more of a clear visual on there as well. So let's pop a y in here. So now we can see everything it's iterating over. So for this first one, we've got 10 to 12, 10 to 12. So we should, why isn't that saying x? Oh, it is, it's just lower down. So there we go, we're in x10, we're in y10, we're in y11, y12, so that's it iterating through all these. Then we're updating x, going through y10, 11, 12, updating x, going through y10, 11, 12, looks good. Then we need to do it again. So where we've got this, we need to do it all over again, but this time with a z and with a 2. No, a 3 here. So now we should have exactly the same thing. Let's put the z in here. Okay. So that's looking a bit more reasonable. Obviously turning off doesn't work. And this is very messy. I could do with some variables perhaps to simplify this. So let's do a let min x equal this. Oops. What's going on there? Copy. Min x equal that. Let max x equal this. And then let's just duplicate those. Do that, undo that. Min y, min z, max z. Then those need to be 2, 2, 3, 3. And then now we can replace this with min x, this with max x, this with min y, this with max y, this with min z, and this with max z. I mean, it should be the same, but at least now I can actually squash that down. So if it's turning off, I still need the exact same functionality. So there's a little bit of code repetition there. Ooh. So turning off doesn't look like it's working, though it is logging that. So it should be the same. It should be going from 9 to 11. Not sure what's going on there. If the instruction isn't on, it's definitely logging turning off. So why isn't it actually running the for loop? I'm just going to add another comment so we can see. It's definitely getting there. So this condition isn't correct for some reason, even though it was working fine up here. Are they the same? They are, right? Yeah. Let x equal min x, which should be, in this case, 9. Should be updating for each instruction. It looks like it worked. I mean, it works with the on at the end. That's the confusing thing. This one is fine. So why doesn't it go? So x equals 9. If x is less than, so if 9 is less than 11, then run the code. Is 9 less than 11? Yes. Very weird. I'm just going to flip this. Oh, well, that's not surprising. Yeah, turning off just doesn't seem to work. If instructions 0 is equal 1. Don't know what I mean checking here, just checking if it's not equal to true. It's like my else condition isn't ever. But it's getting here, that's what I don't understand. It is in the else. No help in the chat, huh? Okay. So something in this condition definitely isn't working. Doesn't make sense because it already says turning off. All I can think is that this is just the first one that's got like a low enough number. Like it's the first one to use 9, but how that changes anything, I don't understand. This, I'm just going to log out minx, just in case that's not updating. So it should at least be logging out 9. What the heck? I'll log out maxx. Is 9 as a string not less than 11? Flip. But if they're numbers, it's true. That's our problem. Wow, that's killer. How is that even? So what's it doing with 10? 10 plus plus? How's it incrementing that? It's when it's doing this check, and I'm assuming that this has an implied assumption that it's a number. So what do I need to do here if I just pass in this? No, I'll do it at the top. Everything is pass inted. Let's make sure they're being converted to integers instead of. Oops, it's not passing. So I'll pop this in front of all of them. And pop this at the end of all of them. And there we go. Off is working. Wow, that was killer. Okay, now when we're inside here, we need to be switching on something. So in the Z case, we need to be switching on something. So let's say console.log, I use a string literal, so we can write everything, switching on, and then $x, comma, y, z. That should give us the coordinates each time we run it, in the turning on anyway. So we've got there the coordinates, and with that we should just be able to say reactor x, y, z equals 1, and we'll just use that to denote something is switched on. We also need the same thing in here, but to switch stuff off. Switching off, 0. And now I have no idea what it's supposed to look like. So let's log that out. We've got a bunch of ones. Is there a way I could count these ones? I mean, this is the thing. I could write another counter. So now that we have for each every instruction, count all ones. And I can literally just make use of the exact same for loop. So this big one here, so now that needs to be 0 to 21. This is where we'll have to change it to be minus 50 later. Luckily they all have the same numbers in each, so we can just do this, and then I can say don't need this, don't need this. Oh, sorry. Oops. This here, and then I'll just say if reactor x, y, z equals 1 as a number, console.log light, I don't know what they're called, reactor on, else reactor off. And we should just see a sort of a spattering of ons and offs now. That will be how I know it's working. So we go, we've got some ons, we got some offs. Now we need some sort of counter. Let's on counter equals 0. And then instead of reactor on, we just do on counter plus plus. We run it. I need to console.log it at the end, on counter. Ooh. Cannot read property 0 of undefined. Was that this, or is it just hitting something? It's probably going out of bounds of our array. So I'm guessing reactor 21 can't be accessed. Oh. Let's keep this out just for a second. So we have our reactor. Can I access reactor 21? No. Access reactor 20? Yes. So what I'm doing there is trying to access something that's undefined, and then I'm trying to access something undefined of undefined, which is why it's breaking. So why is it not 21 when we defined our array to have 21 items? Because that would start at 0. So we can only count from 0 to 20. But because we're including 0, there are 21 things there. So that should be all we need. Oh, it's very slow. That's very slow. Lots of logs. So I should be getting 1323 switched on for this test case here. Oh no. But the actual answer is 39. So that's way off. Why is that so far away from what it should be? How big should this cube be? Am I switching things on when I shouldn't be? They are largely off. Well, how big is this shape? So we've got 20 times 20 times 20. So we've only got 8,000. And we're saying, what, about an eighth of them are switched on. Does that sound, I mean, it doesn't sound like 39 should be switched on. I could do a count. So let's start getting rid of some of these logs. And I'll do I'll do a count in here of how many things are actually being switched on. So let's do let count equals 0, and here do count plus plus, and then at the end of each run of that for loop, you can say console.log switch on count lights reactors. So we've got switched on one light, so that's probably not in the right place. Oh no, that looks good. Switched on 27. Switched on 27. So I should be doing 27, 27, 1. And they've got 27, 19 additional cubes, but that shouldn't matter. 8 should be switched off and 1 should be turned on. That sounds right. So why am I so far off? How could I even be this far off? Maybe let's do this just to see our counters. It's on. Okay, well here's a clue. None of these should be on. So something's way off. It looks like everything is on in all locations, but only the Zs are correct, unless I'm just like so far down that I'm only seeing the Zs. So somewhere when we switch stuff on, if instruction is on from min to max, that's fine. Let's get rid of that. So how did those 20s get on? I wonder if I remove just my ability to even switch anything on, what count do I get? 0, right? So this isn't quite doing what I think it's doing. But how is that happening? Am I accessing the wrong stuff here? Let's check all the min x's I'm seeing. Ten, 11, 10. 10, 11, 10. 10, 11, 10. That looks good. So what? For each, if the instruction is on, and where am I using reactor XYZ? I'm not assigning it. That should just be a check, so that shouldn't matter. So it's got to be this line. It's got to be this isn't iterating the way I think it is. But I'm logging out every time I'm in there. I didn't see how. Was every array exactly the same? Because I think every array is exactly the same because they're all the same array. So if I go do something like this equals 9, and then I print out the reactor, they all have 9, that's why they're all the same. So it's only my last cube update that's correct. So I need a way of making like a copy of each array. So this is a notion in JavaScript of copying something by reference or by value. What I've done is basically here, everyone is filled with the same array multiple times, rather than multiple arrays with the same values in them. So I need some way of copying the entire array. So a little hack in JavaScript is using this slice function just to grab the whole thing. So if I do this, if I said like, let x equal 1, 2, 3, and get x, it's 1, 2, 3, I can say x, I could say, I think let y equal x, and now y is the same thing as x, but the problem here is if I say x0 equals 10, now x is 10, 2, 3, but so is y. What I actually want to do is do y equals x dot slice and get the whole array. Now if I go x0 equals 11, it's 11 in x, but it's still 10 in y. So all I want to do here is hopefully copy this array here. Don't know if I can do that. No. Maybe I make this array outside of here. So let template equal that. And then in here, instead of making a new array, I do template.slice. Is that the same thing? Still the same. Oh, killer. 0, 0, 0 equals 9. Reactor. Yeah, same thing. Okay. Do I need to do it every time? Do I need to do template.slice? Does this also need to be template.slice? Does every fill need to be a template.slice like that? And like that? That feels like it can't be right. It's the same thing. Shoot, that's so annoying. How do I do this? And why wasn't this like the top comment on my array? Make array fixed length 3D. Jeez, what is going on? I could build the array. No. Do I need to? I can't just make like a 20 by 20 by 20 array by hand. It's the same. It's crazy. I feel like I've hit like every regular JavaScript strange thing that can happen. What am I doing here? Oh. Am I just doing the same thing when I copy this array? It's the same. It's the same thing. What? They are different, but are they different? Damn, I thought we were going to get this one, but I've caught myself out. Right, I think I'm going to leave it there. I think we're super close, but I don't really know what else to do. It's driving me crazy that. Okay, well, I'm going to leave it there and take another 5 minutes back because I've got another meeting soon. But yes, thank you very much for watching. I hope you enjoyed that, and I'll see you later.